Welcome, everybody, to the Sales Unscripted podcast. My name is Brian Neal.
And I'm Margaret Henny.
Here every week for your listening enjoyment. So glad we've gotten lots of listeners' comments. People are listening to our new little show here.
We have.
Slowly taking over the sales podcasting world.
I can't tell you how happy it makes me. Shout out to anyone who sent me very sweet LinkedIn messages, because I've gotten a few of them, and I've actually gotten some people who say, I'm not really in sales per se, and I still really enjoy your podcast. And I was like, awesome? That's so sweet.
So awesome.
So yeah, it makes me happy.
No, it's really, really good. We got a good thing going. We're going to keep it going because this is a demand-generated podcast.
That's right.
Someone said you two should do a podcast, so we did.
By the people, for the people.
All day
That's
long.
it. That's what we give them.
Faux show. Let's see. There was something I was going to ask you about. Are you traveling anywhere?
Well, since we just did Spain, we're probably not going to do that. We always do.
We're going to stay home for a couple of months. But I think we're going to pick up Greece. We're going to go to
our smoking
Trinidad
lounge.
and Tobago.
No, but okay, here's what we will do, though. We always do 4th of July in Monticello with my family.
That's phenomenal.
My brother, his wife, their kids come up. We go to Indiana Beach because they're 5 and 3. Yes, they're little, so they love that. It's very nostalgic.
Your dad's a doctor. Do you get a tetanus shot before you go?
You probably should. No, wait, okay, I will say, in defense of Indiana Beach, it has gotten better. It's gone through a couple of phases. Yeah. My brother, last time he went, he was like, I'm telling you, it is impeccably clean.
Yeah,
it was really cute. The kids totally loved it. Yeah. So
I've heard that. They had owners came in from New York maybe or something and really cleaned it up. And
yes.
If you're listening to us, which most of you probably are not from Indiana.
Yeah, sorry.
This is a place called Indiana Beach right outside of Margaret's hometown of Monticello, Indiana.
That's right.
And
on beautiful Lake Schaefer.
Beautiful Lake Schaefer. And the tagline for their marketing campaign is there is more than corn in Indiana.
Yes.
There is more than corn
How funny
in
is
Indiana. And it just sticks, doesn't it? I mean, it's perfect. Why wouldn't there be?
It's so corny, but it
works.
What can I say? It works. People love it. They remember it. They're like, oh my God, there's more than corn in Indiana. People from Chicago say that to me when I'm like, I'm from Monticello. They're like, why do I know that? And I was like, Indiana Beach. And they'll be like, oh my God, the commercials. I'm like, yes.
There is more than corn. Not much more than corn, but there is more than corn.
We got a few other things.
That's the thing.
So
good stuff. Okay,
anyway,
what's our topic
that's what
today?
We'll do.
So we'll have fun. I was going to say I'm going on vacation. That's why I asked that question.
Where are you going to?
I forgot. Well, we're going to, kind of confusing, we're going to South Carolina to my parents' house, but we're going with my in-laws. My parents are going to let us use their house. They're going to leave and go stay somewhere else, and we're going to stay in their house in South Carolina.
In South Carolina?
It's just outside of Hilton Head in a little town called Bluffton.
Cute.
Bluffton, South Carolina. It's fantastic.
It's
in one of those big retirement communities called Sun City.
Oh my gosh, yes, I know those.
Sun City.
They're kind of all over the place, right?
Yes, they're in Phoenix and Orlando.
Heard of this.
And it's just a bunch of old drunk people that drive around on golf carts so they don't get dewies.
Listen, it kind of sounds like a great time. If I'm being perfectly honest.
It really is. It's a little scary because they get down there and it's like a big fucking party. I mean, it is. There's got a bunch of people in their 60s and 70s who grew up in the hippie times and they got nothing to do and plenty of money. They're like, what are we doing?
Let's hang out.
Yeah, it's really, really great. But it'll be super
so
fun. And we'll come back and then we'll go to my hometown of Evansville for my family reunion. So there are the Neil's summertime plans. Then it's football season.
Oh, man. Then we'll be back in it. In July.
Well, yeah, we start. Yeah, I mean, we get going.
Oh my God, Derek's gonna be so happy as soon as freaking.
Is he a depressed football guy?
No, he's in everything. He is. He has me watching, and no shade, but he has me watching men's college track and field.
My man.
Right. And I'm like, mother of God. He will watch anything. He loves it all. He's totally obsessed. He knows everybody. He's like, you got to watch this person. They're going to the Olympics. And I'm like, how do you know this stuff? He just loves sports.
He
loves it.
He does.
So that's
and you love him. So therefore,
and I love him. And so
along,
I participate. Right? And then I'll play along and ask questions. I'll be like, now, didn't that guy just run this event? He's like, as a matter of fact, they did. It's a decathlon, Margaret. No.
Thanks, honey.
Yeah, so I try.
I'm going back on TikTok. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, bye. I love you.
Okay.
Okay, here's our topic for today that I'm kind of excited to talk about because it's one of my favorites. So we're talking about ending, what you do at the end of a sales call, demo, conversation. So we talk a lot about generating business, getting leads, getting your foot in the door. And that's all really important, right? You have to have that first. To me, that's kind of duh. Okay, actually, I've got a really good analogy for you that just came off what's unscripted.
Let's do it. I might do a cheer.
So, so when you're an actor, the first thing you have to do is memorize your lines. Memorizing your lines is not acting, right? You're not getting into character development and doing all the fun, cool stuff and playing off of each other. So this, I feel like generating business, getting those leads, that's memorizing your lines. You gotta do that. But if you want to get into the good stuff, it's like on the demo afterwards. What are our next steps? That's like the meat of it.
That's
what do you
great.
think?
I
You
love
like
the
it?
analogy.
Okay.
And I have a really good friend from high school, from college, who's a full-time actress in Los Angeles.
Really?
Also kind of a self-development junkie. And so she's a regular on a show called Atypical. Atypical's on Netflix, I think.
Wait, I feel like I've heard of this.
Yeah, I think it's like 4, 5, 6 years going right now.
Okay, cool.
So she's on that show, Atypical.
Good for her.
Her name's Wendy Braun. She's a phenomenal human being, one of my best friends in the whole earth ever.
Hey, Wendy.
But she has a thing called Actor in Spirit, where she coaches actors and actresses who are coming up through the ranks.
Yeah.
The mindset of acting, of detachment and the abundance of the world, and then a little bit more into the mechanics after that, but mostly just about how to deal with all the things that come along with being an actor and actress.
Totally.
But she just did a thing on memorizing lines. She did a podcast, a series. Yeah, I didn't listen to it yet, but I just saw it come across Instagram.
I was like, I wonder what she had to say about
it. She had some line expert memorization person on there who was going to give like 6 strategies for memorizing lines. But it's interesting. You don't think about that, do you?
No.
With actors. And you're right. That is the first step. And then in selling, again, that's our line memorization. And here's what's funny. You're an actress. I'm not. I'm an educated guess that memorizing the lines isn't all that fun.
No.
Right? It's kind of a grind.
Oh my God.
Truth?
It's a total grind.
Yep.
And like you have to do it. Like I did a lot of like talking into the mirror, or I would like record myself and listen back to myself, like reading it, stuff like that. But like you have to do it, right?
Yeah,
you can't get into the fun stuff if you don't know your freaking lines.
So here we go. So there's the analogy.
This is the fun stuff.
Yes, the fun stuff's the middle and the end. Now, here's what's interesting, and you said this in the pre-show prep that we prep for Sales Unscripted podcast, which is not at all.
Not very much prep.
is we don't usually, and I observe this with my clients, we're not good enders.
Yeah.
Right? We're not good enders sometimes. We don't know how to end the call. We don't know how to paint a picture of process after that. We just sort of, and what did you say when you're setting up? You're like, okay, like do the, like,
yeah.
what they say, how the call ends.
Well, they're kind of like, okay, yeah, thanks for sitting through this. Really appreciate your time. Have a good one. Yeah. And we'll talk to you later. It's kind of
we'll
like big gulps, huh?
Right.
Well,
totally.
see you later.
Like,
you know, you're like, well, okay, now what are we doing?
Totally. So there are some very tactical things. And this is back, our last episode, we talked about discipline of process. This is one of those things. You've got to end these things really, really tightly right now. You've got to keep process very, very clear for people. Yes. It's really, really important.
Speaking of clear, this goes along with this because one of my favorite things that you taught me that completely changed my sales game was at the end of the call, clear future dates.
Always.
CFDs. Always. We talk about it all the time at Co-Video. I am like, I'll come up with a freaking cheer for CFDs. It's
I
like,
love it.
They are, you have to have it. It changes everything. So clear future date, it is exactly what it sounds like, where you're like, okay, so we'll talk about, whatever you get to at the end of the call, but then you say, we're going to have another call to discuss X, Y, and Z. By the way, you should definitely lay that out. Don't just say we're going to have a follow-up call. Be like, what are we going to talk about? What's going to be discussed? What's the point of that call or meeting or whatever? And then you say, okay, let's pull up our calendars. I'm a bit of a calendar junkie. Everybody learned that from you, Brian, right? So you pull up your calendars and you're like, let's put it on there right now. The date, the time, send them the calendar invite. Sometimes I'll even be like, hey, I sent that to you. Did you get that? Cool. Beautiful. Go ahead and accept that for me.
Beautiful.
I'll go through the whole thing.
And so then you go, okay, if I get to the end of a call and I'm like, well, I'm a little, I felt like that was a little abrasive, or I felt a little uncomfortable, so I didn't do it. So there are people that we work with and hear from, they're like giving excuses why they don't do that. And that's not okay. You can't do that anymore. No more excuses. There's no reason. This is how you roll. So if you're listening to what Margaret just said, what she just said is what you do. Yeah. Just how you do. Always.
It's
always.
It's more respectful of their time.
Thank you.
It's not like you're not trying to pin them down, because here's the thing.
No.
If you feel like that they are like resisting this, well, one, it sounds like there's some things that you probably need to still talk about.
Anyway.
Right?
Correct.
Where you're just kind of like,
Correct.
okay, I'm like getting this vibe from you that like you're not on board with having this next steps call. So like, do you still have questions and concerns that we need to go over maybe right now?
Yes, and yes. Yeah. So you don't have an option here, is what we're trying to say. So this is just how you're going to roll from now on. And what's cool about this is you can audit your open opportunity. So here's a little to-do for you listeners.
Yes. Is
you just go to all your open ops. So if you're in HubSpot or you're in Salesforce.com, don't care what it is, you have all your open ops, and let's make it up. You have 50 open ops. I want you to audit for clear future dates and count how many of those you can go to your calendar and see a green checked mark, electronically accepted invitation.
Yes.
It's got to have an accepted invitation on there.
And
out of 50.
A clear future date. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm just getting excited about it.
I love it.
It's not just on your side. It's not for you. It's not like, hey, follow up with Brian on this, and this date. It's like you came up with this date together. You agreed on it. They said yes. You sent them the calendar invite, and they ideally accepted it as well. Right.
That's the only way it counts.
Yeah.
If there's no acceptance, if it's still grayed out, you don't have one. And so what I want you to do is go and audit all the open opportunities you have for clear future dates. Yeah. Now, when I first do this with clients, so let's pretend just for easy math, a group has 50 open opportunities.
Okay.
And the first time we've introduced this topic is today. And I say, okay, take your Salesforce.com, open it up, look at that, look at your calendar, and tell me how many out of 50 do you have a next step where they've accepted? What do you think the number usually is out of 50?
You're asking me right now, what do I think it really is?
What do you think the number is? When I first do it, so they've never been taught this.
Oh,
I'm seeing so what's natural in the world? Yeah, go ahead and go there.
Oh
go
my
there.
God, I bet is it like 5 out of 50?
It's about 1.
Oh my God.
It's about 1. It's amazing. Now they have, ticklers on their side that say, call Margaret, follow up with Blind Zebra. They have all this, and they think they're buttoned up. But there's no reciprocation. There's no green checked accepted invite on the other side.
Totally.
And I tell people, don't beat yourself up too bad if you do this the first time and you're 0 or 1 of 50. That's normal.
Totally normal.
But no mas.
Yeah.
No mas. That's Spanish for no more.
My God, man of the world here. Most interesting man in the world.
Evansville. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. That's very flattering. I've always thought of that myself. I do have some quirky habits, or hobbies, not habits. I have quirky habits too, but quirky hobbies.
Yeah.
So that's how you roll. But do the thing and be real. Don't do this. But nope.
Yeah.
All the excuses go. There's no excuse you can give me that I can't go around on this one. Well, there's a lot of people involved. Okay, placehold with one person. Have them communicate the date. If it doesn't work, then you can move what you've got already in the calendar. But you got to set it with one person.
Yeah, totally.
Next excuse. it's like.
It will change the way that you sell. I am telling you. And like I said, it's so much more respectful to them.
It's so much more respectful.
Instead of being like, because then you're playing this game of reaching out and trying to get in touch with them at times that they're not free or they're on vacation or like whatever. If you don't have this conversation, you don't know. They might be like, I'm at a conference for the next week. And instead you're bugging them like, hey, have you changed your mind?
Totally.
Just freaking ask them.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it doesn't matter what happens because if they say no, so if Margaret asked me for a clear future date, I'm like, I really appreciate it, Margaret. Let's just shoot me a call here in a couple of weeks. She's not going to plow through that, all the way.
Right.
But she knows where does it stand now. I'm not as interested or I'm not as ready to commit. So
totally. Which is okay.
You've got to end every call this way.
Yeah.
Every call. Now, common sense. If I'm selling to Margaret and Margaret goes, hey, Brian, love your stuff. I've zero interest in this at all. We're just not going to spend any money. Don't do it then, obviously. Right? If she says no.
You're not having another conversation.
No. We're just done.
Yeah.
But if we're going to keep the process rolling, here's some contextual language I always tell people. In the spirit of being efficient and clear. Ooh. Efficiency and clarity. Here's what's funny. So if I say, hey, I don't know about you, Margaret, but I love to do things as efficiently as possible, and I love clarity. I hate ambiguity. Yes. You're not going to find a soul on the earth that goes, I actually like complexity and ambiguity. I don't really like to know what's going on or what's coming up. And I love loose ends. I love having a lot of stuff hanging over my head. Nobody says that.
Nope.
No one will argue with efficiency and clarity. That's why you do this.
Yep.
Every time, right?
That's totally
Isn't
true.
That true? And that's how you end every call. This is about being a good ender. You've got to end well. You've got to end well.
What else do you say when you are like gauging? Like, do you do a gauge after you've had a call with someone?
Sure.
Like to be like, hey, what are you thinking?
I vote. So my language I teach on that. I say, okay, so part of what I do at this point is I say, okay, is this the kind of engagement that I think, hey, I'd want to keep rolling next step? From my side, I'm a yes. I would keep going.
Okay. I love that you say from my side.
From my side, I'm a yes. I'm a thumbs up. I would love to chat again. And they will. You don't have to ask them. They will respond, and you just stop. They'll go, I think I am too. I'm like, cool, sounds good. Let's do this. Let's grab our phones and get our calendars in. Because our next step, I'm a clarity efficiency junkie, so I don't like loose ends. I know how ping pong goes in email. Everyone hates that with dates. So let's do this, and I'm doing it right now, aren't I, Margaret? Right?
I'm like smiling because I'm like, just listen to this and just talk about
the 16th.
Memorizing lines.
I'm bumping out on vacation on the 23rd. I'd love to, if we could reconnect before that, that would be awesome. The 21st, 22nd, 30 minutes is all we need. We'd probably do it in 20. You tell me. They'll be looking at their calendar too, and you set the date. Here's another little trick. If I'm working with Margaret, I set the date. I'm actually going to say, okay, I'm going to send this to you now so I don't forget because I'm bad at that. Hang on, and you just commentate it. You say, okay, just Margaret, we said 1:30 to 2 and the 22nd. Okay, I just hit send. Tell me when you get that. She'll look at her phone. She'll go, it'll be at 3 seconds. She'll go, got it. I'm like, cool, accept that. We're good to go. Bam. That's how you do it. That's how you end a call, isn't it?
Yeah, that's and it makes it so much easier and it's way easier than you're imagining. I'm telling you, if you use that type of language, people they respond positively. Yes. Like I'm telling you. Yes. The only time that they don't is if they're really not interested in talking to you again, and then you don't have to set a meeting because for whatever reason, like, hey, it's just not a fit from their side maybe.
So funny. You know what, as I'm thinking this through, this is such an interesting thing we should think about for sales leaders. I'm talking to the sales managers now. Well, everyone can hear this. We tend to label salespeople based on how they do the very first part and the very last part. Okay. So we either say, oh, Margaret can get a meeting with anybody. Right? Okay, she's a machine on the phone. She's 100 dials an hour. She's a freaking badass on the phone. She's awesome. Or we go, she can fucking close.
They're a closer.
That girl Margaret can get ink on paper. She's a closer. We never measure the middle, do we? We don't measure the middle. We don't say, Margaret is so damn efficient with all of her processes. She's a process machine. Click it up.
Clicking it up.
Were you a sorority girl in college?
No, but you told me about this.
We didn't. Okay, I didn't know.
This was just so funny because you said you guys did it in fraternity, and I said it's also something you do at poetry readings. Oh, people will be like, yes.
Okay.
So anyway,
I'm very open. I'm a very open person. Like, I love things and experiences. I've never been to a poetry reading.
We'll
never been.
One.
Should I go?
Oh yeah.
Are they fun?
Yeah, sometimes. But sometimes it's awkward because, like, you know what I mean. It could be sort of like open mic night at a comedy. You know, like where sometimes it's amazing. Sometimes you're like, ooh, they're really working through this material. But
you go here locally?
That's okay. Yeah.
You know Tatiana, who was a server at Patachu a long time ago? She's a big poetry person here in town. She organized. I don't know her last name. Tatiana. She's an awesome human.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
we'll figure out where she goes afterwards.
We'll figure out. Be a good middle process person.
Yep.
To me, that's more important in the beginning than people that can close. Right? Because here's what I say: both of those people, I can teach the opening and the close easier than I can teach the middle. Yeah. Middles, you got to work at getting good at it. You know what I mean?
And it's actually measurable when you start using things like CFDs, right? So it's not this like pie in the sky, sort of like, oh yeah, maybe I'm moving them through my pipeline or not. When you use stuff like that, you can see, you can measure it and be like, yep, there they go. This person is, lukewarm. This person's definitely, here's where we are in the freaking sales funnel. It's like, what are we talking about?
The freaking sales funnel. That's what we call it too.
Sorry.
I gotta go look at the freaking sales funnel again.
Right? I'm so sorry. Okay, so one other thing that I did want to add to it too, that you also taught me, that I love is if it's the time, I love to use the language for go, no, go.
Ah, love it.
So like you're talking about the next step. So, okay, we're setting what this next call is going to be. I tell them, I'm not saying, hey, we're going to follow up. I say, okay, it sounds like you need to talk to your team about X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
I told you I would find out about A, B, and C. On that call, we're going to talk about those things, right? So I make it really, really clear right away. It helps me recap. It also helps me set an agenda for what's happening. And they know it's not like there is an expectation for them to do something on their end and show up and be ready for it. And same for me, right? Rather than just be like, we're going to check in and see where we are. Like, what are you talking about? But if you're at the place where it's time to make a decision, and we say, okay, it sounds like we're actually ready to the place to be like, hey, is this a go or a no-go? Red light, green light. I'm going to put this on the calendar as a go, no-go call. When we have that conversation, sure, if you've got more questions, we can absolutely talk about those then. But this is when we're going to say yay or nay. How does that sound? Does that sound okay to you?
Beautiful. Really good, Margaret. God, you're well trained.
Thanks.
That's really
I wonder
good.
why.
You're so good. It's really great. That's what it is. So listen to what Margaret just did. Just do what she did. On the go, no-go, that's what it is. And you get to a point, there's nothing else to talk about. And you got to say, I'm in or I'm out. And you have a vote. You can vote out.
Oh, totally.
Right? I mean, you're listening to this. Like, I know in the co-video world, I'm a user of co-video. If I were selling co-video, which I feel equipped I could probably do.
Oh, totally.
Not all the way with the mechanics, but the most of it, I could do that. And I could say, if I'm with a sales leader and he's telling me about she's telling me about her sales team, and they're distracted, or they're a bunch of cowgirls and cowboys running around, and it's like, I'd be like, I'm not sure you're going to get usage here. It just feels it feels too loosey goosey. I don't feel like there's a good compliance culture here. So I'm going to vote no.
Yes.
So you vote no, right?
Yeah.
And someone might go, thanks for doing that. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the honesty. And like, no problem. It just feels like it would be just like pulling like just uphill all day.
Yeah.
Probably not worth it.
Completely agree.
Right? I love the freedom to do that.
Yeah.
It's really, really great. And you just vote. And at some point though, you're like, you can say I'm in. I say, okay, we're at the end of the deal. I'm a green light. I'm a go. I'm ready to do contract and implement. Your turn. And they say in or out, right?
I love that. And it's so clear. Like, it's not confrontational. I think sometimes people start to get wonky and weird, but like, it's like asking for the business. All right, at some point we got to wrap this up, and that's on you. It's not going to be on them. Like most of the time, they're not going to be the one to say like yes or no. Like, you probably need to be the one to control that conversation. And it's easier than you think.
It's so much easier than you think.
Yeah.
And you should want to do this because you just want clarity.
Yeah.
You just want to know in or out, yes or no, right? For sure. Okay, that was a good one.
Thank you.
Sup. I love
Thanks
Sup.
I know, me too.
I mean, we worked so hard on the name and the logo, and then all of a sudden, like 2 months later, we're like, wait a minute, this looks like Sup. And that's even better. Okay, good stuff. We will talk to you next time. Thanks for listening.
Guys.
Bye.
Over and out.